Hello, this is Screenplay. I am Will, and I am joined once again by Kevin, my cohort in this podcast where we talk about our top three topical film things. Kevin, hello, how are you?
I'm grand. I'm grand. Episode 2, Will, I was going to say to you, this was going to be my blurb. I like what you just said, but this is what I was going to say to you. What do you think of this? And the listeners can tell us if they like it. By the way, thank you for listening to the first episode. I was surprised that we were able to bring over as many people as we did from the best bits because we put a bit of a little, hello, we're over here now. And a fair number of people that used to listen to the show, judging by the numbers anyway, have come over. So thank you. It's glad to have you back. But this was going to be my intro, right?
Mhm.
And again, it was going to be like, what do you think of this? Can we make this work? This is Screenplay, the podcast where two professional screenwriters procrastinate on mic. I'm Kevin, and he's Will.
I endorse that message, Kevin. That works for me.
I mean, I want to set the bar really low here so that people understand that this is just the two of us pissing about when we should be probably doing some actual paid work instead of messing about on a hobby. But episode 2, and we just changed what this episode was going to be about
Yeah.
last night.
And this is indicative of how we want to try and run this podcast, because we want to be a little bit more nimble and adapt to breaking news, and actually just bring our 2 cents, or kind of like our fresh, fresh out of the oven takes on something that's happened in the news.
We just want to talk about stuff that's on the top of our heads, like
Yeah.
that we want to talk about. It's like, this just happened. I want to talk about this rather than the other thing.
And I think darkly, I think last week, whether we said it on mic or off mic, we said, like, for instance, if someone big, a big Hollywood icon dies, we'd love to be able to get on mic and just wax lyrical about them and, the films that we love from their career.
Yeah, this episode is all about Charlie Kirk. I had to jump in and get that in there before you killed the joke on me.
Jesus Christ.
No. I think I actually said on the last episode, so fingers crossed somebody major dies. And they always come in threes, Will, so,
Oh, shit.
Well,
listen, I've got my, I don't have a will made out.
I'm like one of those Etsy witches. I will this into being. No, go on, tell them what.
Listen.
They gotta know from the episode title.
Well, listen, this poor Robert Redford, a true king of Hollywood cinema, mainly in the 70s. He passed away peacefully at the weekend in his sleep. What a
I better
way to go.
change the title.
At the age of 89. I don't know what title you had intended to
I
put
had
in
Kirk
there.
out. That was my episode title.
Look, I suppose we're here to talk about his career. He's talking about the amazing icon that he was in cinema. To me, it almost felt surreal hearing that he died, because he felt so alive and vibrant, even in the recent rare, starring roles, or acting roles he's done on screen.
Well, do you know what his last film was?
I'm aware it was a Marvel movie.
Avengers Endgame, his last on-screen credit, 2019.
Yeah. I was thinking about, the first thing I thought, I'll ask you, my relationship with Robert Redford and Robert Redford films was that when I started getting into cinema, it was in the 1980s. And I would say the shine had kind of gone off his, Hollywood king status from the 1970s. I wasn't watching movies when he was in his prime.
He was already a statesman by then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and he was doing rare. He was working on Sundance, and he was doing all these political activism and environmental activism projects. And so I was aware of him as a bit of a legend, but it wasn't until the 90s when I started really, really getting into cinema and started reading about cinema and the great era of late 1960s, 1970s American New Age. Well, I suppose it was the new Hollywood cinema of the New Hollywood cinema of the 1970s, that I start to watch some of Redford's most iconic roles, and he was a revelation. So that's when I was introduced to him.
It's funny you say that because when I was thinking back to what is the first Robert Redford film I remember seeing,
Mm.
I went and revisited it yesterday because I wanted to look. There's some gaps in Robert Redford's filmography that I still have yet to plug. I've never seen The Natural.
Okay.
I've still not seen All Is Lost. You talked about that on the best bits, I remember.
It's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that. But I watched one film and I kind of regret going back and rewatching it actually because my memory of it was a lot better than what it was. But yeah, we're going to get into our top 3 favorite Robert Redford films.
Yeah.
And I have a question about that for you because it's going to change how I thought about this or how I will talk about this. But I went back and I watched the first film that I ever saw him in, which was Legal Eagles.
Does the defense wish to engage in oral argument?
Yes,
we don't,
we
Your
do.
Honor.
Yes,
We don't-
we do.
Which is it? No, we don't.
Of course.
No, we don't.
When a prosecutor and a defense attorney team up to solve the murder case of the year, there isn't a law, a rule, or a heart that won't be broken. Universal Pictures presents
Are you going to sleep with our client again? She's a very attractive young girl.
Extremely attractive.
I did not say extremely. I said just attractive.
Extremely.
Robert Redford,
Hey! The hell are you doing over there? I'm breaking into my car.
Deborah Winger,
Let's.
No, don't even say it. If we go through that door, it's called breaking and entering.
No, it's not breaking. It's just entering.
Daryl Hannah,
I didn't kill Taft. It's going to take a lot of work to convince the jury of that.
It was Ivan Reitman's follow-up to Ghostbusters.
Okay.
It was the film with Deborah Winger where he's a district attorney and she's a lawyer that's bringing this case about missing artwork that Daryl Hannah's father was involved with creating, and there was some sort of scheme that went down where the gallery was burned out of it and there's a missing painting and Brian Dennehy is like a villain in it and all that kind of stuff. And I remember that being like a fun caper of a film.
Right.
And there was a scene in it that I had a vivid memory of watching and really enjoyed. And it wasn't in the film. So now I don't know where I saw that sequence, but I had Robert Redford sneaking around in the office trying to get some files
Okay.
and not be caught doing it. And I was certain that scene was in Legal Eagles and it was one of my favourite scenes in it. But for fuck's sake, no, I think it could have been like from Stakeout or something. I have no idea. It's one of those like movies.
Sneakers, perchance?
No, I don't remember it in Sneakers either.
Okay. Right.
And I love that film. But I went back and I watched Legal Eagles and I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was a really poor film.
Okay.
At that time, when you're saying that you discovered him, he was a statesman of an actor. He's playing a role that he's a bit too old for, but he's being touted as the young, hotshot district attorney. And I'm like, Robert Redford must be about 40 in this film.
Mm.
To say he's a young, maybe they do, like in those kind of roles, those jobs. But you had Daryl Hannah, who was like a sex pot, 22-year-old that was like flirting with Robert Redford, and it kind of felt a bit icky. And she's a performance artist, and she's putting on this show for him where it's about fire and stuff, and it is so overwrought and silly. But that was a rare misfire because I did watch a couple of other films that I thought were terrific. So I'm going to talk about those, but that's been my approach to this. Is like I need to cram and watch some Robert Redford films that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
But it hasn't changed my top 3.
I'm in a similar position because as I mentioned at the top, there's a lot of films that I had overlooked, like iconic films. He had an incredible run of hits in the 1970s, many of which I assumed I had seen. But when I actually started going through them one by one, I went, "Oh, I actually haven't seen. I hadn't seen the downhill. What was it? The downhill racer, I think it was. It was the one after Butch and Sundance. The first film he produced.
Mm-hmm.
I surprisingly have no memory of seeing Jeremiah Johnson, even though
I watched that yesterday.
Okay, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that one. Even though it spawned one of the most used GIFs in the internet, I hadn't seen The Candidate, which was a big hit.
I saw that yesterday.
Okay, I haven't seen The Way We Were.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, I've seen this thing many times. I'm pretty sure I saw The Great
same.
Gatsby. I only recently watched The Great Waldo Pepper. Have you seen that one?
Nope, not seen that one.
So that's recent for me. I've recently enough seen 3 Days of the Condor, but it's one of those films I've seen a couple of times. And of course, All the President's Men, which kind of ends that, that era, that the 1970s era of dominance, I would say. And films that were box office and critical huge hits. He was one of the kings of Hollywood from the 1970s.
He felt like that. He felt like he was the counterpoint to Jane Fonda,
Yeah.
where he was very politically active, very politically savvy. And when he spoke, people listened. And he made very astute choices. He also had a fantastic directing career as well. After his acting career, he moved into directing. And on our old podcast, we did a whole Guilty Pleasures episode. And I talked about The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah.
And I love that film, and I didn't revisit it, and I'm kind of scared to ever revisit it because it might not hold up. But I do always remember thinking that was such a beautiful, elliptical, dreamy, wistful film that they just don't make anymore. And they were rare at the time.
Maybe I better come back when you're not so busy.
Busy? Well, I thought you were going to say drunk. The fact is, there's enough whiskey in the state of Georgia to get me drunk enough.
Well, how drunk is drunk enough?
It's all a matter of brain cells. You see, every drink of liquor you take kills 1,000 brain cells. And first the sadness cells die, so you smile real big.
And then the quiet cells go, so you just say everything real loud for no reason at all.
And finally come the memory cells.
These are tough to kill.
We need someone from Savannah in the match.
Who's that? I could have killed you out there.
Oh, no, sir. See, I set myself directly in front of you. Because judging by how you was hitting them balls, I figured that's why I'd be out of harm's way.
Yeah, a beautiful film with Matt Damon, Charlize Theron, and Will Smith. And I think maybe because Will Smith is in it, that his casting kind of tipped the balance where people thought, I can't take this serious. This sort of like this magical Negro type character.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like a bad faith way to read it. I just took it as it was and thought, this is a lovely film.
He always felt a man's grip on his club just like a man's grip on his world.
But he's done some other really great films that he's directed.
I'll talk about some of what I've learned about him and his life, as we go through the chat. But I want to actually, that's going to be the springboard for me to talk about my number 3 film of Robert Redford films. Because my number 3 favorite Robert Redford film is a film that doesn't feature Robert Redford at all, but it's a film he directed, which is Ordinary People from 1980.
In this typical town, in this comfortable home, 3 ordinary people are about to live an extraordinary story.
It's starting all over again. The lying, the covering up, the disappearing for hours. I will not stand for it. I can't stand it. I really can't.
What kind of psychiatrists are you? They all believe in dreams.
I do believe in dreams. Only sometimes I want to know what's happening when you're awake.
I don't want to see any doctors or counselors. This is my family. And if we have problems, then we will solve those problems in the privacy of our own home.
I knew something was wrong even before he tried to kill himself.
I think it is a very private matter.
You never came to the hospital. How do you know about the hospital?
Your mother did come to the hospital, Conrad, and you know that.
I just don't know how to deal with it anymore.
Why are you hassling me, huh? Why are you trying to make me mad? Are you mad? No!
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Quiz show. Yeah, no, I didn't say quiz show because I've only ever seen quiz show once when it first came out.
I watched it last night.
Oh, okay, great, okay. But firstly, I just want to say Ordinary People is a film that I did not see when it first came out. It was a big Oscar winner at the time.
It's a big ensemble film, isn't it? With Mary Tyler Moore,
Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler, Judd Hirsch, Timothy Hutton, Emmett Walsh, Elizabeth McGovern.
Did Timothy Hutton win the Oscar for that?
Golly gee, you're asking me now, and I can't say specifically.
This is just a chat. This is just a chat.
It's about this family who are reeling from the grief of the loss of a son, a teenage son.
Is it funny?
It's in no way funny. But what it is just, I found it, I genuinely found it so moving. Such a beautiful character piece. Mary Tyler Moore, she's got a perfect front, but what that masks is a cold heart.
Oh, really? I've never seen it.
It genuinely is a gorgeous film. It's beautifully directed, and the performances are amazing. I think it's so delicately paced. I've watched the final scene of it yesterday just to refresh my memory. The tears were trickling down my cheeks. The whole film kind of came flooding back to me in a way. The feeling of the whole film. It's a film about mental illness in an era before mental illness was even kind of discussed about, in popular media. It's a beautiful film. It really is, and it came at a period where he had
Back when they
just
would send people to analysts, not therapists.
yeah, that was it. But it comes in a very interesting point in his career because it was released in 1980. He had basically had that decade of dominance, and from around 1980, he took over the leadership of what was the Utah Film Festival, which he took over and financed and renamed as the Sundance Film Festival. So it signaled a kind of a shift in his philosophy and how he saw his own role in the world. He kind of moved towards that statesman, as you said, from being an activist to someone who said, hang on a second, I am now more interested in the filmmaking, the making of films, and also helping other people get their films seen out there. It's a very compassionate film, Ordinary People. It's, to me, speaks to his compassion for other living things and human beings and whatnot. I think it's probably one of those films that's kind of slipped away from people's consciousness because there was such a spotlight shone on it back in 1980, and everyone then begrudged it because it beat Raging Bull to the Oscars that year, and I think it deserved the accolades it got at the time. So that is my number 3. Great film.
I'm going to have to watch that. See, he had so many films that you had to kind of divvy up your attention about whether to judge him as an actor for this episode or as a director. I thought we were going to talk about some of the films he directed, but I was thinking, if this is an Extravision thing and someone comes in and says, have you got any good Robert Redford films?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be thinking, I'll get you the one there that
he's not in.
He directed, but they wouldn't even know. They'd be like, what's a director?
Yeah.
And did they do the hair or the
I
makeup?
know.
No. But we passed over something that I want to talk about, which is I watched The Candidate.
Grace.
Don't tell me what I know. Don't make me. Will you give me some... Put that damn phone down and let's get this straight. I want to know what the hell this campaign is.
Okay, now for starters, we got to cut your hair and 86 the sideburns.
All right, let's go.
I wonder if anybody understood what I was trying to do.
Don't worry, son. It won't make any difference.
But increasingly in this country, candidates are merging the two, selling themselves like an underarm deodorant in commercials just long enough to pound in some mindless slogan that cheapens candidate and voter alike. Those early hard statements of his are turning into mush.
It was directed by Michael Ritchie. He's the director of The Golden Child, Bad News Bears, Fletch. It won the Oscar for Jeremy Lorner's script. He was a former speechwriter. He did one movie and then he left the business.
I want to jump in there and say he also directed Downhill Racer, which is a previous film of with Robert Redford. Just
Michael Ritchie.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking at these thingy here. Sorry for tripping you up. Continue.
I was more focused on the writer, Will. I think the writer is more important.
I know.
But yeah, he won the Oscar and then he left the business, essentially.
That's
incredible.
incredible.
That, just like peace out. That's the way I want to go out.
One and done. Thank you.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm halfway there. But Redford plays Bill McKay. He's running for senator, and he's brought in by Peter Boyle as the best chance they have to beat the governor of California, who's a Republican, who's running in the race. And it's all about the machinations of what goes on to get a political campaign up and running.
Yeah.
He's very handsome, he's very smooth, he's telegenic, and they think they've got a really good shot with him. And the Republican governor is slick. He's like, he'll turn up at a disaster and he's already got a bill that he's going to propose. He's flying off now to Washington to propose this bill. And you see that Redford is completely out of his depth, as Bill McKay, the character is playing, is completely out of his depth. But he's a liberal and he's a progressive and he's talking about unions, he's talking about social healthcare and stuff like that. So it's an interesting thing where you have kind of a satirical insight into how media wins these campaigns more than anything. It's about messaging. It's not so much about the man itself. And it has a really great final few moments that it wouldn't be spoiling it for you, but I didn't know what way it was going to go because the whole thing is built around this campaign and about him sort of wanting to win this race. He's forced into it where it's like you can do this. You've got the stuff that we need. And so
Yeah.
he thinks, okay. And his wife is like, yeah, you should do it. You'd be great. And I don't think his heart is in it,
Okay.
but he goes along with it. And he manages to charm the public. He's quite slick in a debate and stuff, and get people to his side. And I was genuinely thinking, is he going to win this race or is he going to lose it? And what's this film going to say, whether he wins or loses?
Yeah.
And to give you a spoiler, he ends up winning the race.
Right.
And he wins it resoundingly. And it has a moment which is like the end of The Graduate, where he's like the dog that has caught the car. The people are like celebrating all around and the cheers are going up and it's on the news. And Peter Boyle character is saying to him, like, how do you feel? And he's like, I don't know. And he takes him off to a side room and he's like, he doesn't know what they're going to do next. And he says that to him, like, as all the cheers are going up and the crowds are like knocking at the doors and they want to go in and get pictures with him and all the women are like crowding around him. He says to Peter Boyle, like, what do we do now?
Mm.
And he looks entirely crestfallen. And then he says something else, but he gets completely drowned out by the noise of the crowds and everyone crowds in. I thought sometimes you can have the right ideas, you can be the right man for the job, but if you don't want to do the job,
Mm.
you are going to fail at it and you're going to let down everybody. You're going to be a terrible senator for this state because you've gone into it for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
even though he had the right intentions. And I thought that the film lived up to the status that it has. So I was really glad that I watched that one because I never would have gone back to it only from passing. And I'd recommend that.
I actually,
but it's not on my list. It's an honorable
Oh,
mention.
that's great. I think it's a perfect way to do it. I actually saw that scene as I was digging around trying to do a little bit of research on him yesterday, and it feels like it's a perfect scene which speaks to something I saw Robert Redford say in an interview, which is he is much more interested in behavior, in observing things and watching the real natural world around him. And what a wonderful way to communicate the futility and I would say of a lot of politics in that they're great at saying what's needed to be said to get them across the line, but but the ability to put these words into action and affect change in the world, most of them are fucking clueless.
We've got a presidential race going on in Ireland, and it's fascinating to see all the bots sort of swarming all the comments and all the AI bad actors that are weaponizing social media against us. And there's a couple of things in his career that he's done that I feel they all knit together. And one of them is environmentalism, as you're talking about there, and about him being interested in behavior. The other thing is about conspiracies, and even a good intention conspiracy, like in The Candidate, which is him conspiring to win this race for the right reasons again, but not being the right man. But I feel like that's a film where the ending was probably the thing that was the most important thing to everybody involved in this.
Yes.
And they worked back from that, which is the guy wins the race and he doesn't know what to do once he's won.
Yeah.
It's like, let's see how somebody becomes the successful candidate.
One of the things that struck me is I actually saw a BBC interview with Redford from the mid 1970s with Melvin Bragg, and it's almost like a callback to something you said in the previous episode where we talked about how promotion for films now it's all fluff pieces and everyone's just trying to eat digestives without licking the lips or
try this American chocolate
bullshit. Versus back in the day when people were promoting films, they were actually going on and having proper insightful conversations for a long period of time, and it's quite revealing. The conversation he had with Melvin Bragg, where he was talking about his childhood and whatnot. And I suspect, now this is him speaking in the 1970s when he was promoting All the President's Men. I suspect that maybe Robert Redford might have been dyslexic. Okay. And he said this because I'm saying this now grabbing it out of not thin air, but based on what he talked about his own childhood and being in school, he said at school he was never interested in text. He was never interested in, if a teacher was reading a storybook, if it was story time, he would just lose interest and he would just stare out the window at the trees and the birds flying by and whatnot. But he said as soon as, an animal was brought into the room, or if people started performing, or if someone brought in some art and any illustrations, he was just locked in. He was completely consumed by the physical, by behavior. You know, a lot of dyslexic people, they actually are quite good at spatial relations and visual cues and whatnot. And I just wonder if that would have been a factor for him. But it also very clearly influenced his later decisions, which was to retreat from Hollywood and go where he wanted to be, which is where he in Utah, and where the Sundance Film Festival was set up. And I just feel that he was someone who was never comfortable in the Hollywood scene, never, ever, ever comfortable being in the spotlight. He just wanted to be on his own in nature.
Well, I watched Jeremiah Johnson, which was filmed in Utah, and I wanted to see whether that was something that motivated him to set up the Sundance Film Festival there. And it was. He already had a cabin there, but by spending all that time filming Jeremiah Johnson, I was like, oh, this looks like Utah. This looks like where Sundance takes place. And yeah, that is very much a film that's all about environmentalism. And one of the 3 Sidney Pollack films he did, I wouldn't say it was my favorite
Really?
of his films that I've watched.
His name was Jeremiah Johnson. They say he wanted to be a mountain man. Nobody knows whereabouts he come from, and don't seem to matter much. He was a young man, and ghosty stories about the tall hills didn't scare him none. Bought him a good horse and traps and another truck that went with being a mountain man, and just said goodbye to whatever life was down there below. Here's his story.
Robert Redford as Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson.
But it's sort of like just a man in nature, living with the elements, hunting, dealing with how brutal the environment is and how resourceful you need to be. And it sort of is just promoting, I guess, a lot of things that he would have found important. It's sort of just, it's sort of one of those films where if you're into it, you might be swept away by, isn't that a nice shot of the mountains? Isn't that a nice shot of like the wolves attacking the horses and the horses kicking the shit out of them? And here come the Native Americans and they burn down this house, and he comes across this woman who's had all her family killed, and she's got a deaf son, and he decides to take the deaf son as his like sidekick, and nothing really happens between the two of them. It's sort of like they can't even have a conversation, so he has to give him a name because he can't talk to him. And then he takes a wife, and then a Native American wife, and about 40 minutes towards the end they have an intermission. And I was like, it's an interesting movie, because the film is nearly about 3 hours long.
Wow.
It's like an interesting place to put an intermission. And when they come back from it, suddenly the wife is dead, the son is dead, and he's like having to start all over again. And I thought maybe this is a story where it's a bit like Ned Kelly, and if you're into Ned Kelly, you might be into it.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was fine. It was grand. It was good to see where the gift had come from.
Yeah.
But
where in the film does it happen? Is it beginning, middle, or end?
Very, very end.
Okay,
very,
I'm
very
just
end.
curious, right?
So that's him after his wife has been murdered, and after his adopted son has been murdered, and he burns the house down, and he's fucked off, and he's bumped into a few old fellas on the mountain, and they're like, "What are you doing up here?" And he's like, it's just the best way to be. And he's like, "That's right." And a bit like people up in Donegal, like up in the mountains.
F you from everyone in Donegal. F you.
Oh, I don't give a shit. I'd never run into them. But yeah, so the gif is at the very end, and him sort of, I don't know, giving that look of being like, that's life, isn't it? Funny thing.
Well, you know what? I have to mention it because around that same period when he was shooting this, right? So this is before, or maybe just before he bought his place in Utah, or maybe at the time. No, he was living in Utah at the time. There was plans in the early 1970s. The US government had a plan to build a huge coal power plant in Arizona around the Grand Canyon, right? So like is it one of the seven wonders of the world? I'm not sure, but it's definitely one of America's national natural landmarks. Okay, and
I've been there. It's just a big hole.
It's a big hole, right? But everyone goes.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
It's actually one of those things that the photographs don't do it justice. Like if you take a picture of it, I was there and I was taking photographs, and you look back at the photographs, and it's like, yeah, it looks like a huge canyon, but when you're there, it is enormous. Like the scale of it, you just feel infinitesimal. You feel like, wow.
Now imagine
it's kind of, I suppose, what being in space would feel like. I
imagine that place, but there being a huge one of America's largest coal plants sitting right on the edge of it. It would have completely, ruined the air quality and the visibility of the entire Grand Canyon. And it was like,
I wonder which party wanted to do that.
we can only guess. We can only suspect. But Redford became one of the leading forces in actually putting a shoe or a gear or a cog in the mechanics of that happening. He went and he did a huge push, publicity push to try and turn people's opinions and turn Congress from actually doing it. I think he actually testified in Congress to try and to get them to stop it, and they were successful. The group that were advocating against it were successful in stopping that thing. So I think that probably was, again, one of the early signs of him really becoming a leader in environmentalism. And I think it's a huge fucking part of his legacy. You can't talk about.
Yeah, he was a very principled man.
Yeah, you can't talk about like his film career and not talk about like what he's done, what he managed to achieve on that side of things as well. So,
But that's the thing. I feel like that his principles are very evident in the films that he chose. Like that one is a revisionist Western and it's all about environmentalism. And that feels like he carried that right through his whole life, that it was true to him. Like you're not looking at him and seeing, maybe with Legal Eagles, and maybe that's why one of the reasons why it felt so flat, that felt more like a star vehicle. Whereas all of the other films that he's done that I've seen feel like they were films that he would have spearheaded, or they would have spoken to him in a way that felt very authentic to who he was. There was a message behind them that he wanted to put out there. I could track the man through the roles that he played. They felt like there were aspects of his personality and his persona that matched up with who he was. So he chose good projects. They suited him, and I feel like he chose them for the right reasons. So whether the films worked or not, or whether I really gave a shit about Jeremiah Johnson and his, escapades on the snow-capped mountains, it was a film that I felt I got a better sense of who he was as a person through it.
Yeah.
Or things made sense about him from that film.
And he starred in one of my, it's not a guilty pleasure, but one of my kind of favorite subgenres, which is the political spy thriller. I love political spy thrillers. And 3 Days of the Condor.
So that's my number 3.
Oh, it's great. Well, talk to me about 3 Days of the Condor. Go on.
This is the Major. This is Joe Turner. Identification? My name is Turner. I work for you. Now listen.
Identify yourself.
What is your designation?
Condor.
Something has happened.
Section 9, Department 17. The section's been hit.
What level?
What level?
Level of damage.
Everybody. Dr. Lapp, Janice, Ray, Harold. Everybody is dead.
What is it? What is it?
Are you damaged?
Damaged? No.
Are you armed? Identify the armament.
It's a .45 automatic. Will you guys bring me in, please? I'm not a field agent. I just read books.
So, I was saying to you off mic, so we got to put this out here. It's very early in the morning when we're recording this. And we only just found out about the news about Robert Redford dying yesterday. So we thought, let's scrap the episode we were going to do and let's record this one instead, because this is what we were going to do. We were going to talk about something topical and what was on our mind. And very quickly, I had my top 3. I was like, oh, that's it. I've got them. That's my top 3. I don't need to sort of jockey around here. But I didn't revisit my top 3 films because I needed to plug gaps. So I ended up watching films that I didn't particularly love, which was like Jeremiah Johnson and Legal Eagles and stuff. But 3 Days of the Condor It's the second of the three films that Sidney Pollack did with Robert Redford. A film that's based on a book called 6 Days at the Condor. Never read the book. The film itself, I saw it on DVD in the early 2000s. It had been talked up as one of these films that was like in that conspiracy 70s era of films about the deep state and
Parallax View, Manchurian Candidate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will Manchurian Candidate's more 60s, but definitely Parallax View. And I love those films. So I came to it thinking, I'll take a punt on this. It's got to be good. It's got to be enduring for a reason. And I loved it. I thought it was great because it is a chase movie and a suspense film. And I know that there's been criticisms leveled at the film over the years because of the nature of the relationship between Robert Redford, CIA analyst, who he returns home to his depot. Returns home.
Well,
do they live at the depot? I don't know.
No, well, it seems like it's an office, but it looked like it's a residential
townhouse.
building. Yeah, it's a townhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So he returns back from lunch, we'll say.
Yeah, it feels like he's just gone out to get coffees and is bringing him back in or something like that. That's what it feels like.
But it's one of those openings which is definitely a grabber.
Yeah.
A hit job strikes the depot, and all of the other colleagues that he was working with are massacred, including his girlfriend. And Robert Redford barely makes her there alive. And he goes on the run and he comes upon Faye Dunaway's character. And where the criticisms leveled at the film is because of the sort of the brutal relationship that they have, where he will chain her up and stuff, but there is a romance that develops over the course of like 3 days, despite him having just witnessed his girlfriend getting gunned down. But still, with all that, I thought it was a belter of a film. It's one of those films that definitely, if you came into me in the video shop and said, have you got any good Robert Redford films to recommend, I'd be like, have you seen 3 Days at the Condor?
I used to confuse it with Condor Man. Remember that? Did you ever hear that film? That was
the superhero guy.
Superhero guy. He was the English actor. Sorry. Yeah, so I actually do.
Didn't he have like huge wings flapping?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, it was a pretty dumb film, but I remember the time being.
But yeah, it's a taut post-Watergate thriller, definitely within the realm of the other Redford films, where it's dealing with a conspiracy, and it's tangentially dealing with the political underworld and the deep state and things. But it's slick, satisfying, and it still holds up. Like if you go back and watch that now, you'll enjoy it. It's not one of these films where it's going to jar with you, whereas The Candidate might, because of how different the way that campaigns are run these days, where in that it's like advertising on television and all that kind of stuff. I think 3 Days at the Condor would still feel timely, and it's just a really good pop boiler. It's like a really good airport novel kind of film.
And what I love about it, I agree with you totally. That opening is just it grabs you by your collar and pulls you right in. What I love about Redford himself in this is how convincingly vulnerable he is. How you do believe that, yeah, he's in the CIA, but he's not actually the James Bond type, we'll say. He's not the man of action. He is just out of his depth completely. He's a pencil pusher. He probably, gets the ladies here and there, but you really get a sense of vulnerability from his performance. And it's something that you would never see the likes of a Sylvester Stallone or maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger, or the cinematic icons from the next decade. You kind of wouldn't see that type of thing from them. To me, after watching a lot of these films, I got to thinking that, Robert Redford definitely wasn't a character actor. He definitely wasn't. He was a movie star, but in the best possible way,
But he came up in an era where, and this is not true so much anymore, but all stories were character driven. So even when you were a movie star and you were heading up a film, it was all about the character you were playing, and they might have fit a persona, but I don't feel like that he was someone that did things because they made him look cool.
Yeah.
I think he would have done it because it made sense for the character, and he would have been, I think, pushing to make the character seem vulnerable or inept or out of his depth. and working on his wiles to get him out of situations rather than on his physicality. But yeah, he's an interesting actor in that. You couldn't really swap him out with other performers at the time. Like if you had to put Warren Beatty into that role, it might have still worked, but it would be a very different kind of CIA analyst. He wouldn't have been as wholesome. I think there was something about Robert Redford's manner and the way that he spoke that he seemed a bit more soulful and a bit more folksy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a very American quality to him that you couldn't really swap him out with many other actors, and Warren Beatty just felt a bit more Hollywood.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I was watching it, and it crossed my mind just for a brief moment. As a kind of a thought experiment, went, would he have been a good James Bond? Would he have been?
No.
He's a different type of quality. He's
blonde. Can't have a blonde James Bond.
Well, now listen, what did they do to Daniel Craig? Eventually, the role makes you go dark. Eventually, but I think it would have been
No, you can't have an American James Bond. They tried, didn't they? Have that Australian guy? What's his face?
George Lazenby.
Pierce Brosnan.
They're about to cast
Pierce
James
Brosnan.
Brolin.
He's Australian, didn't he?
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is Australian. I've
heard him try to do an Irish accent. Like he's definitely not Irish.
Via Navin. But he was perfect type of actor for these political thrillers, spy thrillers, which he had peppered throughout his career. Spy Game as well, that one with Brad Pitt as well. That was on the top of my head.
That's one of those films that I had on in the video shop a lot, and it's not that great, to be honest with you.
It's not that great.
But that felt as well like a bit of a star vehicle, which is like, isn't Brad Pitt a little bit like Robert Redford?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be very funny if we put the two of them together into a film?
Yeah.
Ash will do that so. But yeah. I had a thought and it's gone out of my head. You talk too long.
You're welcome.
It's out of my head. That's all right. Because I'm trying to avoid tripping you up as well.
Well, I can go on to my number 2 if you want me to go on to my number 2 now.
Yes.
And you let me know if it's on your list so we can wait until it appears.
But did we sort this out? Are we only picking star vehicles?
Well, I've just
like not star vehicles, because that's contradicting what I was saying about him not being in star vehicles, although Spy Game is a star vehicle. But are we picking only films that he's featured in?
Well, I have already broken that rule because I just had Ordinary People as my.
Oh, you had
number
Ordinary
3.
People, of course.
My number 3.
All right.
So I've totally broken. You can do whatever the hell you want, Kevin. That's my philosophy. You have your top 3. I have my top 3. And
all right, that's fine.
You make it whatever way you want to make it. I just went with the films that I absolutely loved that he was a major player in. And one of those. My number 2, and let me know if I'm...
Oh, this is what I was going to say. I have to say it now because it would have gone out of my head.
There we go.
I had to say. You were talking about Robert Redford being a great James Bond. Do you know that they approached him to star as Superman?
Oh, that's probably
Richard
in my
Donner.
head.
Or
Right.
not Richard Donner. The Salkinds sent him the script.
Okay.
And said, would you play Superman? And that would have been a terrible choice.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine him as Superman. It's funny.
But he is that all-American type of like archetypal Boy Scout kind of personality.
But it's funny, when he did end up in a superhero film, I think was it Captain America Winter Soldier? He was kind of like the main bad in that. And he was excellent in that because he brought that political spy thriller history, that history of, everything from the 70s, a kind of an authenticity to the role. And there was gravitas. He just brought this gravitas. And when there's a twist on that, and I'm sure anyone who's seen these Marvel movies well knows at this stage, it felt great. It felt really satisfying. He elevated that film, just his presence alone, I felt.
Well, that's why Avengers Endgame did so well, because he was in that.
He was in it. Yeah, there we go. It was just him. My number 2 has to be, for me, All the President's Men.
That's my number 2 as well.
Okay.
Woodward, Bernstein, you're both on the story now. Don't get up.
Redford.
I'm Bob Woodward of the Washington Post. Mr. Markham, are you here in connection with the Watergate burglary?
I'm not here.
Hoffman.
Hi, this is Carl Bernstein of the Washington Post, and I was just wondering if you can remember...
All the President's Men.
The story of the two young reporters who cracked the Watergate conspiracy.
White House.
Howard Hunt, please.
He might be in Mr. Colson's office.
Who's Charles Colson? Did you know, Howard Hunt?
Well, the White House said he was doing some investigative work.
What do you say?
They stumbled into leads.
Certainly it comes as no surprise to you that Howard was with the CIA.
No surprise at all.
They tripped over clues.
We'd like to see all the material requested by the White House.
All White House transactions are confidential.
This whole thing is a cover-up. It's right on our nose.
And piece by piece, they solve the greatest detective story in American history.
High five.
High five. Smack. A little side note. I don't know if you had this, but I had it, right? Before IMDb.
Probably not. You've got a lot more going on than me.
But this is like how I'm talking about how I was introduced to All the President's Men and a lot of his films was through an early 90s CD-ROM series called Cinemania. And it was IMDb.
Never heard of this.
Yeah, it was basically IMDb on a disc, okay? And it was incredible for a young cinema person to actually be able to put a D or whatever it was, a CD into a computer and be able to interact with an encyclopedia of films. And they would have, they had reviews from Pauline Kael, Roger Ebert, and Leonard Maltin of each film. You could see everyone's...
What about Dave Fanning?
Dave Fanning was there too. He actually presented the whole thing. I think he coded it. I think he coded the whole thing. But they also would have, in very, very low res, low bit format, they would have like workshops from filmmakers like John Waters, where he would talk about schlock horror.
Is this a bit like Masterclass, the thing where they would...
But it was essentially imagine it's an encyclopedia for movies, but it was an interactive multimedia encyclopedia where you could click on movies and there'd be stills from the movie and you could click on, see the reviews from those three critics. But also on a rare occasion, you get clips from the actual films themselves. In a kind of a pre-internet era, this was mind-blowing. So I remember they were like only the very, very best of films were given clips. So I watched all the clips. So that's how I would say one of my early steps of my film education came from that CD-ROM. And one of the clips was a scene from All the President's Men. And it was in widescreen format, with that in the Washington Post newsroom. Just feels like it's vast and deep. And it's a scene where Dustin Hoffman is coming over and interrupting Robert Redford and just annoying him, and it with that split diopter lens and whatnot. And I remember just feeling, holy shit, this is cinema. This is cinema.
It really is.
When I finally got to see the film, I remember just feeling, this is what it is. This is the real stuff. I've just found the good shit right here. Not only was it well crafted, was it well performed, but it felt important. It felt like the film brought down Nixon. I thought this film is the reason that Nixon, it actually brought down a president. That's the weight that cinema could carry. And the film felt like it carried itself with that sense of importance. And it felt like you were watching history. So at the center of it, it has that brilliant relationship and chemistry between Dustin Hoffman and I was going to say Roger Ebert. Imagine if it was Dustin Hoffman and Roger Ebert, Robert Redford. And Dustin Hoffman is just flighty and just egocentric. And you can feel that maybe he's not a million miles away from his real life persona, whereas Robert Redford is much calmer and much more centered and quiet and a little bit more methodical. But you feel the drama when the camera gets in close to Redford and he's on the phone talking intimately to one of his, trying to get leads from someone who could take him one extra step on this chain of investigation. If someone says something, he's writing it down, and you feel that each and every little note, you feel the impact of it through his reactions. Where he asks one guy, Colson, he's on the phone talking to someone called Colson, and he says to Colson, "Can you tell me why your name appeared and is in the address book of such and such and such and such?" And Colson says, "Dear God." And you see Redford writing down with marker, "Dear God," like he knows, I fucking got him. I got him. I found it. And adore that film. I adore that film. I think it's, one of the great films from the 1970s.
Yeah, it's a perfect film, written by William Goldman, directed by Alan J. Pakula. I watched that recently again 3 months ago here, judging by Letterboxd. I gave it 5 stars, and I remember two things that struck me about it, and you just touched on one of them. It's a film all about process.
Hmm.
So you're just methodically following how they crack this case, following up on leads, the pressure that they have to get this right because they could get they could get the full weight of the law down on top of them. It would destroy the paper. It would destroy them. They could even go to prison for this. And the strain that that puts on them to make sure that they're 100% right on this. But it was the atmosphere of the film. It was the quiet moments. It was the sense of everything occurring in this film was illicit. Even just the conversations that would be had in the newsroom, they're almost whispered to each other. While all the chatter is going on, you're let in on a secret and on a world that you don't know too much about. And I find that stuff incredibly riveting and fascinating to watch when it's intelligent people following a hunch and solving a puzzle. It's a detective story where there isn't a murder, but there is huge ramifications which are global that are going to come about from this. And I watched this without not knowing much about the historical context. Obviously, you'd know that I'm not a crook and that Nixon resigned and what have you. But it doesn't matter. It's about how these guys cracked the case and what resulted in that. It's beautifully made. It sounds great. Like just the atmosphere, the sense of place. Like there are certain kind of films that it's almost like if you're ever giving a speech, the silences are as important as the words that you say. And it's about pacing and it's about control and it's about mastering the atmosphere, taking charge of it and knowing when to take a breath, when to let a sentence just linger, when to follow up on it. And that film does that where it just drops you in. I know how the story ends. I know the historical context. I've seen it twice before. And it's still just washed over me as such an assured film. And more than anything else, filmmaking has gotten to a point now, especially with tempo movies and blockbusters and what have you, of there almost being a desperation to entertain you, a sort of a frantic pacing of things where it can't just be about one idea, it has to be about 10 ideas at the same time. And it's all overstimulation. And to sit down and watch a film where it's trusting you to have the intelligence to go along with this. And it's like a great singer or a great orator or what have you. You just know you're in a safe pair of hands. And the film just washed over me. And I thought, this is such a pleasurable experience to watch something that is quite suspenseful and tense. And watching two intelligent people operate at a level that is remarkable. And I loved it. So it's my number 2, a 5-star film.
And it's a 5-star film, and I just want to add to that: it's more prescient than ever now. It feels like its importance never waned, but right now, in the way that the world is kind of shaking, it reminds us how vital a free press is to preserving democracy. And that's what this film is about, is like the power and importance of free press to being able to keep the powers of democracy in check. And if we don't have that, things can get very unsteady very, very quickly.
Yeah, I just think that we're fucked because of social media. I think that this world that we've created where a lot of really weird fuckers own all these social media apps, they're right-wingers and they are weaponizing it against us. They've eradicated any sort of journalism out there. We used to, like even just 15 years ago, we'd have blogs that you could read.
Yeah.
All these journalists that were working on cases. And that has brought about a president in the States who is basically just a social media guy.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking lunatic. And I can't imagine what Robert Redford thought about how far the country in the US has fallen and how far the rest of the world has been shook by it. Like it's
Yeah.
happening in our own country as well, as I said, with our presidential election coming up. And it is Chinese bots, Russian bots, Israeli bots. They're weaponizing our own stupidity against us. And we're all going to suffer from it. So democracy to me feels like it's really struggling. And when you watch All the President's Men and the level of the criminality in that now just feels so quaint. Obviously, it spoke hugely to the character of the person that was running the free world. But now you've got just rampant criminality and stupidity. And Jesus Christ, who could take on that case now and prosecute Trump?
That's
Teflon Don.
That's the fear. That's the fear. That's the fear. Yeah. Yeah.
That was my number 2.
That was
And
my
your number
number
2.
2. That was my number 2 as well. We're both in lockstep. And I wonder if we'd be in lockstep for our number 1 as well.
Well, we might be, but I want to talk about as well Quiz Show, because I watched it last night.
Oh,
It was
do,
directed
yeah.
by him. I'd never
Yeah.
seen it before. I read up a little bit about it, which is that after he shot A River Runs Through It, he wanted to do something where he could move the camera a bit more, something where it was more urban and more fast paced. And it's a fucking cracker of a film.
I got the guy. I got the guy. I got the guy. I got the guy.
Originally, I was going to be a concert pianist, and I was really quite good, but when the day was done, I was no Horowitz.
So I understand you came down to try out for tic-tac-toe.
Well, my friends tell me I have a good mind for this sort of thing. They coaxed me.
How'd you like to be on 21?
21?
Dan produces both shows.
What about Herbert Stemple?
Yeah, boy. What are we gonna do here?
I could take a whack at it.
Yeah, see, the problem, Professor, is the old college try ain't gonna do it.
What if we would have put you on the show? Put you on 21 and ask you questions that you know. Say the questions that he answered correctly on the test this morning.
I don't follow you.
You want to win, don't you?
Well, I think I'd really rather try to beat him honestly.
What's dishonest?
When Gregory Peck parachutes behind enemy lines, you think that's really Gregory Peck?
That book that Eisenhower wrote, a ghostwriter wrote it. Nobody cares.
It's not like we'd be giving you the answers. Just because we know, you still know.
Right. It's not like you're putting me on the show or Al and pretending to be some sort of intellectual. I mean, you have put in years of study and erudition.
Nobody has to know. Just us three.
It just doesn't seem right. I'd have to say no.
Quiz Show.
Was that part of the test?
As we were talking about the things that interested Redford with conspiracies, like that feels like it goes through a lot of his work, even stuff that wasn't that great, like Lions for Lambs or whatever. There's always that thing of questioning authority, questioning the establishment, not kowtowing to the elites. And Quiz Show, it comes about because one of the prosecutors wants to bring down television. He thinks that television is corrupting the morality of the public. There's a line in it where at the very end, after they've had the congressional hearings, the prosecutor, played by Rob Morrow, says something like, I thought we were going to take down television, but I think television is going to take down us, because it's all about spin. It's all about entertainment. Truth, facts, what's right and what's wrong does not matter. But there's some lovely moments in the film which I thought showed the insightfulness of his directing, which is that John Turturro basically cracks this case wide open, where he is one of the star contestants on this quiz show called 21, and all the questions are fed to them ahead of time, because they're basically treating these contestants as characters, as plot elements. And what the public respond to, they'll give them. So if the public want this person to win, they're going to win. It doesn't matter whether they deserve to win or not. They're basically giving the advertisers and the audience what they want, because it's all about money. Martin Scorsese plays like the head of the network, and he is pretty fantastic in it as well. But he decides, I don't like this guy. He's sweaty, and there might be some racism built in there, but he just thinks he's not very telegenic. Get rid of him. So they force John Turturro to throw the next game. There's a moment that happens where after Ray Fiennes has been coerced into doing this. And Ray Fiennes is a character who doesn't think he lives up to the status of his dad. His dad is like a very esteemed man, and they share the same name. And there's a line in it as well where the dad says to him, like, Jesus Christ, what have you done? Like, your name is my name. You've basically tarnished both of us. But after they swing the game for Ray Fiennes, the media swarm. They're all around him. It's all like, oh my God, who are you? You're a star, whatever. And John Turturro is shoved out of the scrum. He's on the outside, and he can't even get a handshake off the head of the network. And that sort of shunning inspires him to basically try and bring it all down. And I thought, yeah, that's a lovely moment. But they bring it back at the very end of the film, where after Ray Fiennes faces the congressional hearings, after Rob Morrow has basically blown the case open and they've revealed that it was all a conspiracy and what have you, and he admits that he lied and he did it for this reason and that reason because he didn't think he measured up and all that kind of stuff. The media swarm around Ray Fiennes again, and they're all wanting to get quotes and get pictures and all this kind of stuff. And John Turturro is on the outside of the scrum once more, but the feeling of what it feels like to be on the outside then is so much more different than the first time, which is like, it's almost a relief not to have gotten attention for the wrong reasons. And I thought it was a lovely little moment that was built into the film that maybe people would think is pretty obvious and standard. But those are the things where I'm like, I love that moment. I thought I would just mention it.
Oh man, I desperately wanted to revisit it. I've re-added it to my watch list. I've only seen it once when it came out in 94 or 95. I can't remember what year it was specifically.
I was looking it up and it said 94 and 95. And these days you can never tell what's fucking accurate unless you do about 3 different cross references. Because
Right.
AI gets shit wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about that time.
I remember it was a good era for cinema. So it was one of those films that kind of like, oh, there's another very good prestigious film out around the same time as, maybe it was a year after Schindler's List or whatever, around the era of Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump and Braveheart and all that sort of stuff. But I want to go back and revisit it with more mature eyes because it probably wasn't.
It holds up. It's really, really good.
I really want to see that again. I really want to see it again. I can bring you to my number one, which might be the same as your number one, maybe. Maybe it'll be a lot of people's number one. What do you think?
Well, let's think about this now, because films that we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about The Sting, really.
We haven't talked about The Sting. That's right.
Very good film. I didn't revisit it for this. It's not a film that I would consider to be one of my favorites. So obviously, I feel like on this episode, I'm just stating the fucking obvious. I'm just like,
we mentioned The Great Waldo Pepper, and I know you haven't seen it, but I just want to say
I haven't seen it.
I recommend watching The Great Waldo Pepper, another William Goldman collaboration. That was also with golly gee. Anyway, it's one of those instances where
I haven't seen The Natural.
Do you know what? It's been years since I've seen The Natural, and I need to go back and watch that again.
I saw The Old Man and the Gun, and I didn't really love it as much as I should have loved it, I think.
I highly recommend All Is Lost. The film.
Yeah,
where
I'm going to have to watch that.
It's riveting. It's one of those, people surviving in extreme circumstances types of stories, which I'm all in for. And Robert Redford embodies that role effortlessly. You feel like, yeah, I could imagine Robert Redford going out in a yacht and trying to sail across the Pacific Ocean, banging up against, I think he crashes against, what sends him adrift is just a cargo container that's fallen off one of these huge super freighters that's just floating out at sea, smashes into the side of his hull, and that's what precipitates all of his drama, really. And it's about him trying to survive. He's great.
It came up on one of our episodes on the Best Bits where, Jesus, what was the title of that episode?
Oh,
it was something like
Alone. Your people were alone or something like that.
Single character films,
Yeah.
one character films.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came up on that. So I think it might be just best one character scene.
And it's a very physical,
Movie
it's
scene.
a very physically demanding role as well. Like, it was pretty.
But he lived to 89. I only just heard as well that his son, because they said he was survived by his 2 remaining children.
Yes.
That he lost one child. They died of, I guess,
sudden
hot
infant
death.
Yeah, it was caught dead, as they would call it.
And he just recently lost his son in 2020 who died of liver cancer.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the grief of like losing a child and stuff. But when I was just reading a few things that were written about him, it was like, Jesus Christ, he lived a life and he left a mark.
Yeah.
And I think he was a principled man that I know there have been some complaints about him with the Sundance Film Festival and how he ran that and what he wanted it to stand for. And it didn't always jive with what some other filmmakers wanted out of that festival. But the fact that he kept that festival going for as long as he did, and there's kind of a sad irony as well that the Sundance Film Festival is leaving Utah.
Is it?
Yeah, the Utah political world there, where they're bringing in these anti-trans things and these horrible sort of like remits. And so they've decided to pull the festival from there. And that's a lot of money that's going to leave Utah. So I can't remember where it's going to. It might be Colorado or somewhere like that. But
Crikey.
So there's a sad irony that it's leaving and he's left as well.
He talked about in one of the interviews where I watched, he was talking about the early days of the Sundance Film Festival and how no one was going to the films. He said they were literally standing on the corner streets. He was standing on the corner of the streets saying,
Park City.
Will you go? You should go, and this is a good movie. You should go and see this movie. You know, it was people, they just weren't interested. And it took years for them.
It's a fantastic festival. Like such a beautiful film.
Did you get a premiere? You were at it. I've never been to Sundance, but
yeah,
you were at it.
Was it our international premiere? Or yeah, I think it was our international premiere. I think it played Edinburgh first. I think Edinburgh was the world premiere, and then the international premiere was Sundance, or maybe it was the other way. No, it was Sundance first.
Okay.
Yeah, Sundance was where we premiered around the world, and yes, that's right. Because I remember thinking there's an awful lot of the authenticity of the film is being lost on the American audience. So they're taking it as, yeah, okay, that's the way people talk. But for an Irish audience and in Edinburgh, the film blew the fucking roof off the place because I think they were just so tickled by seeing these types of characters talk to each other in this way about this kind of situation that it just felt so novel and irreverent and joyous. But yeah, we premiered at Sundance. Beautiful city, Park City, beautiful experience. Like had an incredible time, and I still get emails from the Sundance Institute for being one of the alumni.
Oh,
but I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he set up that festival because it's one of my favorite experiences I've ever had through being a writer.
And look what was spawned through Sundance. The Coen Brothers, Blood Simple premiered at Sundance. Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs got its springboard at Sundance. Robert Rodriguez, you know, these Darren Aronofsky, Sex Lies of Videotape.
Well, they can't all be winners.
They can't all be winners. But Sex Lies of Videotape, what's his name? The guy Soderbergh. Basically the surge of the American 90s independent scene was directly as a result to their being at Sundance. Sundance was before Tribeca, it was before Toronto. It was a platform where these independent films could get a spotlight outside of Hollywood that were made outside of that system. And Jesus, and as you say, it then kind of became incorporated into the Hollywood system. But
it's huge, or at least it was huge. I don't know how it is going to be moving forward, but all of Hollywood was shut down for January in the build up to Sundance, and then they would all fucking camp out at Park City. All the agents were there, all the distributors, all the talent scouts, and careers are made. And a lot of wheeling and dealing is done. I got my agents at CAA through Park City. A heady time, like, because you just feel for that particular window, you are the focus of everybody's attention. Everyone is about the films and about the filmmakers and who do they think and who's next, and what have you. And it's just such a buzzy atmosphere because you're rubbing shoulders with a lot of other filmmakers in a very small, compacted space. And I was sick as a fucking dog there because the altitude got to me, the adrenaline got to me, and the adrenaline was affecting my ability to be able to sleep. I could not sleep. I was so fucking excited. I was staying in a gorgeous fucking house with all the other, with the whole Grabbers team were there. Such an amazing time. Ruth Bradley was there and Richard Coyle and all of our I've got photographs there taken, which are lovely pictures, like group pictures and stuff. But I just remember being, there's some pictures of me where I am green. I am entirely like green because I was so fucking.
Were you nauseous? Were you actually reeling?
Incredibly nauseous. I was walking up the hill of the street, and I felt that two things were going to happen. I was going to puke everywhere, and I was going to faint. It was
wonderful.
It was, but I had an amazing time. I had an incredible time.
It's like my, you know what? First, you build up these big moments in your career, like the first premiere, the first thing you've gotten the plane to do, and quite often they are mired in illness and disappointment and whatnot. But when you reflect, it's still, the story is great. Like, and the fact that you were there, you were a part of that, huge.
I'm not doing a good
machine.
I'm not doing a good enough job of like conveying what it was like, but I do think that whenever something happens which is like not what you expect, it kind of is like that, where I got there and I was fucking delirious. I was trying not to puke. I remember having half of a shot in a bar and thinking, if I even smell this, I'm going to vomit everywhere. But I do think in those moments, it's like, just ride it out, just go with it. It's awful, it's embarrassing, it's mortifying, it's not what you expect, but it'll be a good story afterwards.
Yeah.
It'll be a good anecdote.
Yeah.
And if you can frame everything like that in life, then even when you're going through something awful like a car crash, if you're in the middle of the car crash and thinking, we're about to go off the bridge,
it's going to be a great story.
If I survive, it'll be a good story.
Exactly. I do it
makes
all the time. I've had someone say that to me on a New Year's Eve where we're walking on the West Coast up by the Blasket Islands, and I'm barefoot. It is lashing the rain. New Year's Eve now. It is about 2 or 3 in the morning. We have been abandoned. Anyway, it's a long story, but
How did you end up being barefoot?
Because Karen couldn't walk in her heels. We had to walk miles.
So you warm.
So I wore heels for at least 3 miles. I ended up giving her my shoes, right? Because she just physically couldn't walk anymore. She doesn't remember this or acknowledges this.
That's very sweet. That's
chivalry.
Very, very sweet.
We were walking miles.
I suppose you couldn't put her on her back because you didn't have the strength.
And so I was, but you see, she was wearing my shoes and I climbed on her back.
Okay.
She gave me
that
a
makes total
piggyback.
sense. Now it all tracks for me.
There we go.
Now I get it.
And we were getting increasingly, listen, it's a wonderful anecdote actually that would take about 10 minutes to go through the whole details. But anyway, it reached this
Save
moment.
for the bonus.
It reached this moment where everything went to shit. And the guy we were blaming, who was an actor, he turned around and he went, lads, you'll be talking about this for the rest of your lives. And sure enough, we still are. Anyway.
And that actor, Robert Redford.
Robert Redford. Yeah.
But you know what? To give him his credit,
bollocks.
Isn't it amazing that, not to make it about me, but I had that experience at Sundance because Robert Redford started that film festival.
Absolutely.
And it is this butterfly effect of somebody has an idea, they follow through with it, it blossoms beyond that.
Yeah.
And it affects so many people's lives. It reverberates like far beyond they could ever have imagined. And I'm certain that there are hundreds of thousands of people around the world that have experiences that have all blossomed from his commitment to seeing through ideas where he thought this would be a good thing to put out into the world. And then everyone else gets to benefit from it. And I think that is a fantastic legacy to leave, and also a great life to have lived.
Isn't it incredible? He made money. He established himself as a leading icon, made a lot of money, and he invested it. He had principles, and he acted on those principles. What a message to leave behind, which is
Make a lot of money.
Make
I've
a lot
got
of
it.
money, but make the way Kevin wait, but there's more to it. Is actually can you leave this world better than you found it? You know,
No.
Would-
No, I can barely get through this world by myself. I'm
I
barely making
feel,
it through.
yeah. If we actually look at how the
The
film
rest of you
landscape
are all on your
was,
fucking own here. I can't help any of you.
if we look at how the film landscape was before Robert Redford was alive and after he died, I think he fucked up because it's in shit now. What was he
And
doing
look
to
at-
stop
look at-
streaming? What did he do
And
to
Trump,
stop Twitter?
He didn't stop Trump.
He didn't stop all these.
All that was a waste of time.
Putin,
So basically,
Putin, who's laughing now?
why bother? I always say it.
Thanks,
Why
Robert.
bother? And
Oh,
with that, I'll
we're
give you my number one.
Are we sharing? Are we sharing the number one as well? Do we have the
I
same?
think
number
we
one?
are.
I think we've no choice. You say
It's
you can-
Avengers Endgame.
Adventures. Actually, I was going to mention Pete's Dragon, but Pete's Dragon is a lovely film, as a matter of fact, and he's in it, and he's just gives a great quality. to be honest.
I saw the original.
Take it away, Kevin. What's your number
My
one?
number one is a film from 1992, directed by Phil Alden Robinson. It's Sneakers.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Is it?
Is that your number one?
No, mine is not. Mine's the obvious one, the one that that we should mention.
The obvious one that we should mention. What other films has he done?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you dickhead.
Dynamite's ready, Butch.
Well, that ought to do it. Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
Oh, right. No, that's not my number one.
Okay,
That's
go
not
on.
my number one.
Go on, go on,
You
go on.
dickhead. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I don't want your
That's-
puff puff puff. Talk about sneakers and be reverential to sneakers. Don't waste precious minutes on putting down Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Talk about sneakers.
This LTX-71 concealable mic is part of the same system that NASA used when they faked the Apollo moon landings. Worked for them. Shouldn't give us too many problems.
They break and enter.
How we doing?
Cars in position on the fire escape. Mothers in the cable vault.
Preparing to sever master circuit.
But they're not thieves.
We're getting too old for this.
They know your secrets. But they're not spies.
Gotta be there somewhere. What's he doing?
Mr. Bishop, do you mind if I take a look?
Carl, grow up.
I give you something to work, baby.
So people hire you to break into their places to make sure no one can break into their places?
It's a living.
Not a very good one.
Now they've got a new client.
National Security Agency.
I don't work for the government.
Relax, Marty. It's just everybody on your team has had some sort of problem in their past.
Now what are you saying? The NSA killed Kennedy?
No, they shot him, but they didn't kill him. He's still alive.
They may not want the job,
Liz, I need your help.
I will not be dragged back into your world.
but they don't have a choice.
We don't want to bust you. We want to hire you. We're the good guys, Marty.
Can't tell you what a relief that is, Dick. Your job is to find that little black box. We got it.
Holy cow. What the hell is this?
There's a war out there, old friend. A world war.
Oh my God.
How is this possible?
It's not about who's got the most bullets. It's about who controls the information.
Anybody want to shut down the Federal Reserve?
Hey, don't screw around with that thing. It's all about the information.
So it's a code breaker.
No, it's the code breaker.
No, Sneakers. Because
It's very good.
it's a fucking belt of a film. It's one of the best in the genre. And I was looking at a lot of his films and thinking, yeah, Butch Cassidy is a great two-hander. It's got a great sort of like vibe to it. It kind of blew open that sort of world of cinema, and it shook things up. It wasn't sort of trying to do the standard Western or outlaw film. I'm sure it was really radical and exciting at the time to sort of go to the cinema and just feel like, whoa, you can do that? You can do a film like this? But Sneakers, to me, I can't compare it to much else. It's got its own unique style. It sort of brings in a lot of the things that Redford loves. Conspiracies. It's got a great sense of humor. It's probably the funniest film that he's been a part of, and he was a great comic actor. He has a same sort of persona as somebody like Tom Cruise, where he just commands the screen. He's a movie star, and that's a film that is a huge ensemble of movie stars, and he manages to hold the center ground and to create this lovely frivolity that I find it incredibly rewatchable. And for people out there where they're asking me, what Robert Redford film would you recommend? I know that I can't go wrong with recommending Sneakers, that everybody will enjoy that. It is a crowd pleaser. It's just got everything that you'd want out of that kind of film. And I've watched it more, I would say, maybe not as much as All the President's Men, but I've watched it more than any of his other films. And I always enjoy it. And so it had to be my number one because, again, like when we did the old podcast, The Best Bits, when we were talking about William Goldman, and I had the option to go with All the President's Men or you know, any number of his great films that he worked on, I thought the more honest answer would be to pick The Princess Bride because it's more my speed. It's more what I love to write. And whenever I get stuck on the old podcast or maybe going forward on this, it always comes down to, if I was given a wish by a genie, which of these films would you wish you'd written? I would prefer to have written Sneakers than, say, All the President's Men. Not because I'm not up to the task of doing that, but I feel like I would have more, it would be more honest to who I am as a writer to have written that. It fits me better. And so I always come down to that, where it's like, what would I have loved to have written? I'd love to have written Sneakers. I don't know what else I can say about that. But it's about a team of eccentric security experts led by former hacker with a criminal past, Robert Redford, who's blackmailed into stealing a mysterious black box, only to discover it can break open every code on Earth. Now they must outwit the government, agents, criminals, and each other in a caper where trust is the most dangerous currency. It's romantic, it's funny, it's exciting, it's clever, it's surprising, it's tense, and it is very polished. So it's my number one.
It's one of those films that I had recorded off the TV somehow, and I had it on a VHS tape and watched it several times. But the actual recording got crappier and crappier, as in something happened where the tape got stuck in the machine. And so I ended up not being able to watch that film.
That happened to me as well with Basic Instinct.
When you were watching Michael Douglas, I'm sure that's what it was.
Yes.
But it's a film that I watched, and it was one of those late night put on kind of comfort films. I always got great comfort from watching Sneakers. But I actually, since that tape got
It's a
gummed
Friday
up,
night film.
It's a Friday night film, but since the tape got gummed up, I actually haven't revisited it in when it came out. Was it 1990, 91? I can't remember, 92 maybe?
1992.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it since
But you know,
then.
Will, they have this thing nowadays called streaming.
But is it where did you find it easily?
I didn't actually, I'll be honest with you.
There you go. Yeah.
So, it's also one of those films that it never, I don't think it ever got a DVD release.
Well, you know what? I do know, because we've a friend, we're friends with the Film Stories podcast. The Film Stories have released the Blu-ray version of that film. They actually have released it. They sell it on their, their online store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I often hear when I'm listening to podcasts, he talks about, we've got our, they actually went and they actually manufactured and created the Sneakers
I should be
Blu-ray.
doing a podcast with the Film Stories.
I know you should. You should, absolutely.
With
You
your
should,
obvious
absolutely.
fucking picks, Butch Cassidy. Oh,
Hey,
that's like
listen.
everyone else's
Listen.
top 10.
You got to be, but I use the same metric as you applied for yours, which is, what was the one that, when I think about this was a great film, this was the great film. And I want to bring it right back to that CD-ROM, which was Cinemania, right? And all those little low-res clips. And for Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, it was one of the few films that had several clips on it. The blowing up of the post carriage, the post carriage which they were robbing. There was the jumping off the edge of the cliff. And there was the raindrops keeps falling on my head music montage.
What do you think of that? Let's be honest. I don't like that scene.
I don't listen. It's too long, but it's a break in the film.
It's too whimsical. I think they actually play the entire song.
They do, yeah. It's a
And
music
he's
video.
just riding around in a fucking circle.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, were they in the cinema back in what year was it? 65? What year
No, it was
did that
later.
come out?
69, I think it was 69.
60, nice. So they were all in. Were they like jerking each other off, like going, "Fucking hell, look at this, lads! It's like a fucking music video. This is the future. Wait till you hear about MTV, lads. This is the future here."
Okay, so for me, when I was watching those clips,
Pauline Kael leaning forward, going, "It was a revelation."
When they blew up, when they actually physically blew up the carriage, and those stunt actors are standing in front of it, and you feel that surely they were impaled by bits of wood shrapnel. They cannot have survived that because of what they just put on camera. I remember just being so viscerally drawn into that film. I think it's genuinely, it's
How
so
old were you when
witty.
you saw it?
I was young. I actually was on TV, so I was in my teens when I saw it. I sought it out when I started seeing it on the Cinemania. When I saw those clips, I was like, I want to see the rest of this film. So I think I managed to record it somewhere off TV. So I saw it when I was.
I would have been in
that
my
sweet
20s
age.
when I saw it.
Yeah, so I was at that kind of perfect age. So it kind of imprinted in my head, and I found it witty and playful and full of life. And the tragic ending, it was tragic. It was really tragic, particularly because I think the chemistry that Redford and Newman had was like no other in cinema. They were
Yeah, they
both,
did have a great
they were
vibe.
they were both impossibly handsome. They both felt like the leads in a band, where Paul Newman was the lead singer and Robert Redford was the mysterious guitarist, and everyone was like, "Oh, but
So
I
like
kind
the
of
Gallagher brothers.
a little bit like the Gallagher brothers, a little bit like that." They just, and I think it's the film that like launched Redford into the stratosphere. The character is, he's laconic, he's mysterious, he's
He
lethal.
played Butch.
And you want to know how stupid I am? It wasn't until recently where I realized why Sundance is called Sundance, the Sundance Film Festival.
Really?
I swear to Christ, I never actually put the two together. I never put the two together.
And you know why Sneakers is called that?
No, because it's all about.
Because they're all wearing New Balance.
That's what I was thinking. It had to be something to do with that. I think there was a couple of moments in that film that I stick out in my head. The moment where they are about to jump off the cliff, because I saw that clip so many times, and Butch and Sundance have been pursued by this never easing up posse. I love that chase. I love them being pursued. That whole sequence of them, they've got their cocks out. They could see the posse come in the distance. They went, it's kind of a couple of days away. Oh, they're still after us. And we cut to them laying down. And
Can I be honest and
Go on.
just jump in and say to you, when I was watching that, I didn't know anything about the story of those characters.
Okay.
So I was taken aback that they didn't survive it. I felt like that these were such jovial, like even under immense pressure and danger, they managed to keep their sense of humor, and that it felt very jarring and shocking for it to end in tragedy the way it did, that it wasn't setting that up. And I remember feeling like, wow, that is dynamic and daring, and probably why the film endured as long as it did, because it always comes down to what feeling do you leave the audience with.
Mhm.
And it's got an incredible final image.
Yeah, it's got a great final scene. The moment that I was thinking of was that moment where they're right at the edge of the cliff. It's not the tragic ending. It's they've been pursued right up to a cliff edge where they're crouching down behind a big boulder. The posse are shooting at them. They're firing back, and Newman looks over his shoulder at the edge of over the edge of this steep ravine down into a river below, and he says, he takes off his belt and he says, "Take this." And Sundance is like, what are you doing? He said, "We're going to jump." He's like, I'm not jumping. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" He says, "Just not jumping. I'm just not jumping." And for someone who has been so cool and such a great shooter and so calm under pressure, he shows this fragility. This real childlike fragility, and until he actually eventually says, "I can't swim," and Newman just laughs at him. He says, "You can't swim. God damn it, the fall will kill us."
Yeah.
And I just love that sense of play, and it's a fun film. It's a fun, even the ending. You know,
It really is.
It's a great film. You know, so it has to be my number one.
Most of this is true, and all of it blazes with action. You've never met a pair like Butch and Sundance.
Well, we're back in business, boys and girls.
Outlaws with style, in a class all their own.
You know, when I was a kid, I always thought I was going to grow up to be a hero.
Don't tell me how to rob a bank. I know how to rob a bank.
And anything you ask of me, I'll do. Except one thing. I won't watch you die.
You just keep thinking, Butch. That's what you're good at.
I'll be honest, it went completely out of my head because I thought that's too obvious of a pick, so I didn't even make any notes for it. So when we were talking about it, I'd forgotten about Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, as shocking as that might seem, or maybe not that shocking. But yeah, I think we both tapped into something about Robert Redford that we both really enjoy, which is that sense of play, the sense that he could send himself up, and that, as I said when I was talking about Sneakers, he was a great comic actor as well. End of an era.
End of an era, yeah. And like, you know, look, we're talking about philanthropic icons. Paul Newman, he's set up a food business that gave all its profits to, you know, children's charities, and Robert Redford did similar. So what a legacy he leaves behind him, and I'm glad we got the chance to actually have this conversation about him. So I'm going to watch. I'm looking forward to rewatching some of those films that I haven't missed. Definitely Quiz Show.
And on that note, that'll do for episode 2.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Can
chat.
I just say as well to anyone that's listening to this, we did just pull this out of our arse, like just last night, where it was like, let's do Robert Redford instead. Let's do an episode on Robert Redford. We can't let that go. If we're going to do topical and top 3, we've got to talk about Robert Redford. So I was like, holy shit, I've got to watch these films I've never seen before because I want to do them justice. And
yeah. That's how we're going to try and run with this. It's just fast and
even though
loose.
the episode doesn't come up for another like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, we're recording it the following morning. Yeah.
So there you go. My homework on this episode is going to be watching All Is Lost.
And I'm going to watch Quiz Show. That's what I want to watch. And maybe Sneakers again. I actually really want to watch Sneakers.
But first you got to edit this episode.
Yeah. And you got to go to sleep because you've watched so many films. You haven't been to bed yet.
No.
All right. Come here, everyone. Thanks for listening. And please, we are trying to build up the listenership and get people aware of the podcast that might not be aware of the podcast. So please share, give us a rating, give us a review. That really bumps us up in the various podcatchers algorithms, which we need that boost. But last week we actually featured in the top 10, didn't we, in some sort of podcasts?
We did, but that's always skewed. It's because we just arrived on the scene.
Okay.
So they kind of favor whatever is new. And because we asked people on our Patreon, you know, if you want to be a patron, that would be helping us out hugely. It does cost money to run a podcast. So that helps us offset the cost of that. And you get all these bonus episodes from us. Like there's over 100 of them there, from all our bonus episodes on our best bits to us continually putting out more and more content. We release the unedited versions of these episodes, and we also do bonus shows where we talk about recent releases and what we're watching. But we ask people on our Discord as part of our Patreon to share the podcast, to like and review it, and by doing that, it helped get us into the charts. So we were number 7 in the Irish charts.
Very nice.
Which was nice. Yeah. I think now we're like about 100 and something. But, you know, that happens. We got to build up a listenership.
I still have that screenshot. So we'll be forever number 7 in my heart and my wallpaper.
Definitely. So listen, thanks for listening to us.
Yeah.
Please rate and review us. And check out our Patreon, and we'll talk to you soon on the next episode of Screenplay.
Nice to chat to you, Kevin.
Nice to chat to you, Will.
Talk back soon.
Which film do you think expressed Robert Redford more than any other?
There's no one in particular. There's to be a composite of many films. I mean, you could take it from Butch Cassidy. There's a lot of me in that. Certainly All the President's Men, The Candidate, Downhill Racer, Ordinary People, The Natural. I for years was ambivalent about being an actor because it was a hard thing for me to adjust to because I used to make fun of it as a kid. I thought it was not an honest living. It is. I wish I could talk to myself as a kid and say, boy, were you wrong.